mind to put your order here?
Oh, you're a gentleman and a scholar. Thank you. Are you taking that away?
Yeah. It's better that way. They can actually see you better.
Well, that's not such a great asset. It's very bright. No, I should have had my sunglasses.
Right.
It's light.
Just your preference. Would you rather move the stand out of the way if you want to just hold the mic, or do you want to mute?
Just that light is light.
Early, so don't take it personally. No, not yet.
Yep, I can dim that light for you. No problem. Yeah, so it's not in your eyes. And then, did you want us to leave the stands here, or should we move them out of your way if you just want to hold the mics? It's totally your preference. Either way is fine.
Yeah, I think.
It's fine. I can just have them.
Just have it be. As
You can take that if
Great.
you like.
I'll just get it out of your way.
Heavy.
Yeah, it is a little bit.
What happened to my bag?
Leaving home. It's there.
What?
It's there with the phones.
Okay, I'll get hysterical with that bag.
Yeah.
Wait, I can turn off my phone. Do you want a chair to sit with us, no?
Yeah, good.
Or she'll monitor the question and answer.
Okay, I can do that. Yeah, you can do that. Yeah,
Okay.
we know who to choose for the question. Mohammed, is it Jafar? Is that how? We'll just wait for some people from upstairs to come down.
I see you've got all these jobs on the switches.
Yeah. Yeah. It's terrible.
Quite a lot of time to talk in the families.
I would say you've been rehearsing all the time. Did you see Millicent?
Yeah,
Also Captain.
yeah. She came to say hello.
Yes.
Well, not really. I mean, we found me, and I found it a bit unnerving, but, unnerving is good as enough. And so they came to talk to me in my house, that you are so ready to sleep on. Someone, maybe you're not. I don't know. Nobody knows. I think that's the most nobody.
Was it
So
like
we just seen it through.
yeah, I flew back yesterday morning. So we met yeah, we were at the hostage memory forum and we met with DBF.
They're doing a very good job of doing that. I see that BDS at the site. I mean, they're so stupid.
It's infuriating actually. It's like boggles the mind. They were attacked from everywhere. Yes. We met when we met with our own league, it was like everyone attacked us from right, from the far right to the left. It's crazy.
Interesting that they haven't said anything about us.
Yeah.
Everywhere we've gone, we've you wishing to speak first? I think that would be nice. Yeah, I think it would be nice if you do.
Why?
I don't know, because it just
You
suits
are
the whole...
more holistic than me.
Not really.
When we had Omdim B'Yachad here in October or November.
Yes, that was a very successful trip, I believe.
Yeah, people are just trying to say there's not everything is lost. You know,
Yes.
like,
I think so. So is that everybody now, or is the waiting?
I don't know. I think we can start.
I think so.
Shabbat Shalom to everyone. Some others may come in from Kiddush, but we want to get started. I want to just thank everyone for being here, and particularly our speakers, Shiri, who is the head of American Friends of Parents Circle, and Robbie Damlin, who's been here before many times to BJ, is the Israeli spokesperson of Parents Circle. Her son David was killed by a Palestinian sniper in 2002 while guarding a checkpoint during his Army Reserve service. Robbie was named a 2015 Women of Impact by Women in the World and selected by the Joan B. Kroc Institute for Peace and Justice as one of 4 women peacemakers. And I think anyone who's heard her speak before has always been deeply touched and inspired. And Muhammad Abu Jafar lives in Jenin in the West Bank, Palestine. In 2002, his 16-year-old brother was shot and killed by Israeli soldiers, injuring 10 others and preventing others from aiding Muhammad's brother. This tragedy led Muhammad to study nursing. Today, he works as a quality manager at the Palestinian Ministry of Health. He has taken part in the Parents Circle Young Ambassadors for Peace program and is a facilitator and manager for the organization's Youth Summer Camp. Welcome to them. And where's Shiri? Where'd she go? Ah, there she is. Okay. So I want to introduce Shiri, and then she'll invite Robbie and Mohammed.
Thank you, Rabbi, and thank you, Congregation BJ, for having us here today, and to all of you for being with us on Saturday afternoon. We don't take that for granted. You're going to hear from 2 amazing people, 2 really inspiring people, and you're going to be moved by their stories. I can guarantee that. There are a number of people that you don't see here on the stage, and I want to take a minute to point them out. First of all, I think it's important that we take a minute to remember all the lives that have been lost since October 7th. Robbie and Mohammed are here on the stage because of the lives that were lost, the people close to them. And there are 700 other families, bereaved, Israelis and Palestinians, that you don't see here today, but they make up the Parent Circle. They make up the heart and the soul of the Parent Circle. And they have all chosen a path of reconciliation. They've chosen to share their stories with the Israeli and Palestinian and international public so that we don't have to lose any more people, so that there don't have to be any more bereaved mothers or bereaved brothers. You also don't see here today a 20-person staff, Israeli and Palestinian, a joint Israeli-Palestinian organization which works in normal times under very difficult circumstances, and since October 7th, nearly impossible circumstances. But they continue with the work. They focus right now on healing and recovery, both sides, until we can come together again. You don't see here today the joint Israeli and Palestinian board that we have, which is almost unprecedented. Welcome. Come on in. I'm going to ask you to do one thing while you're listening to these 2 people. It's a hard request, but it's important, and it gets to the essence of the work that we do. Take your political beliefs, your prejudices, your stereotypes, all of the social media posts that you've seen, the posters that you've seen at protests, put them aside for a minute. Take them off. put them next to you for a minute and listen with your hearts. Thank you. Who's going first? The endless conflict of who's going first.
Yeah, I got it. Okay, I don't know. It's like afternoon. Good afternoon. This is our last talk. We fly out tonight, but I didn't want to miss it because I have a certain sentiment with this synagogue. You were in a church once, right? And I came to talk. These are the saddest times that I can remember in Israel and Palestine. And it's very hard to remain with your belief system. But now more than ever, the work that we are doing is needed. I'm going to say something first because it's a promise that I made to the Palestinian women from our group. And I told them that wherever I went, I would tell what it's like to live in the West Bank as a woman now. And that they have no one to tell their story to, and that it's essential that people realize that it's not only in Gaza, but it's also the West Bank. And so we had a Zoom, and there's almost an element of miracle in that because there has been a closure in the West Bank since the 8th of October, which means that many men, thousands and thousands of workers who come to Israel daily, could not come to work, and so they have not earned any money. And so the economic situation is dire. And so there's much more domestic violence. And one needs to talk about these things, and being stuck at home with your children and being frightened of the settlers. We have to tell the truth because you can't have reconciliation without knowing what we are responsible for. And I'm part of that. Maybe, you obviously realize that my accent is rather not Israeli. You guys all think I'm British, which is hilarious, because the British think my accent is appalling, as it is South African. But we need to know. We need to know what the settlers are doing. We need to know that they dress up as soldiers and terrorize the Palestinian citizens, and that there is no accountability. Please don't think that this is easy for me to say. I love Israel, it's my country, but I must live in a moral country where my neighbor is safe and they have the same rights as I do. So please, if you have any influence on anybody, talk about what is happening, but tell the truth. Tell the truth about how sad and how barbaric the 7th of October was. All of us, our lives are so intertwined in Israel. I look every morning at the soldiers that were killed, and I see these beautiful young faces in the newspaper, all in little squares. And who will remember them? Who will remember all the children that are dying in Gaza? Who will remember one name of any child? And so we have a responsibility. My responsibility is also to Vivian Silva. She was my friend. She was an extraordinary woman who used to drive Palestinian kids from Gaza to hospitals and back again. She worked with the Bedouin. She started Women Wage Peace, and she was this small, unassuming person that you would never in a million years imagine that was what she did. And we thought she had been taken hostage. And I thought to myself, wow, she'll come out of there and she'll be the leader of the next peace movement. But it turns out that she was burned to death in a cupboard in her house. I can't think of anything more vile. But something came out of that. Her son joined the parent circle, and he's talking about peace and to stop the bloodshed and to bring the hostages back home. And looking up here, I can see a picture of all the hostages. That's incredible.
that everybody cares. You didn't notice that up on the balcony are the pictures. So the son of Vivian Silvers joined the parent circle, as well as the Inon family. Maoz Inon also lost, both of his parents were burned to death. These are exceptional, amazing people who have this desire. You know, it's almost, I can remember when David was killed, my son, there was this need, you know, to overnight change the world. It was like sort of not facing what was happening, but to become so active that I wasn't really looking at the pain. And I think that's what's happening here, but it's so amazing. The parent circle, there's also a miracle. Even the fact that these women all came to the Zoom and are willing to, they said no matter how difficult their life is, they're not giving up. And the minute that the closure is over, we will meet. These same women are part of a project. We have a project, it's like a wedding planning project, where each of 40 women went to courses to learn how to do hair, to learn how to do nails, to learn how to design dresses and photography, all the things that go together with making a wedding planning business. It's a way to increment income. And you know, many of these women, it was the first time in their life that they got a certificate from the course that they'd been to. What a joyous occasion that was. But now they can't get to the shops to buy the products that they need. I have to tell you these things, you must know. We've had many Zooms. It's very painful. It's very, very painful for both sides, because each of us is watching the news from our particular media. And so we are living in a parallel universe now. And what has to be is that the trust has to be so deep that you can actually listen to somebody else with empathy, even if you don't agree. All of these things keep me wanting to do more and more and more, because I know that we are so needed. We will have to visit with as many of the families as we can, because nobody understands more the pain of another bereaved person than we do. And we have to listen, and we have to know their stories. And actually Spielberg has now created a whole team of people taking testimonials in the South. I wish they would do it in Gaza too at one day, hopefully. When the army came to tell me that David had been killed by a Palestinian sniper, one of the first things that I said is, you can't kill anybody in the name of my child. I don't know where that came from, but it was very prophetic of what I would do for the rest of my life. And believe you me, I'm the most ancient of all the peacemakers, still slogging it out 24 hours a day. And the parent circle found me and invited me to a weekend in Jerusalem to meet with other Palestinian and Israeli bereaved families. And that's where I looked into the eyes of the Palestinian women, and mainly the women. I think women must come to the table now. Sorry. And, and I realized that we shared the same pain. And I realized that the tears are the same color, and I realized that together we could be such a powerful force if we could stand on a stage and talk about non-violence and talk about reconciliation. Surely that would be an example to so many others. And now more than ever, when your country is importing our conflict into your country and creating hatred between Jews and Muslims, now is when you should be aware. I was just in London and I saw what's happening with anti-Semitic behavior. I have a little cousin of 13 who went on the train with her Magen David inside her shirt. That already tells you something. But it came out during the journey, and a man came up to her and said, "Die, you bloody Jew." So we have to be aware of what's happening, and we have to stop importing our conflict, because that's what you're doing. We had the most extraordinary meeting at Georgetown University It was like a vigil. Georgetown have been our mentors for many, many years. They have invited us, 12 of us, to train the trainer. Jack DeJoy, as the president, loves the parent circle. And so this time, they had a vigil in the church. I don't know if you know Georgetown, but it has this beautiful church. And there must have been about 200 students. And nobody was allowed to bring posters, and nobody was allowed to bring flags, and nobody was allowed to bring anything but a candle. And there was a priest and a rabbi and an imam. And Muhammad and I spoke, and it was a beautiful, beautiful evening. And I thought to myself, wow, if we took these 200 students at Georgetown who were willing to come and listen, despite the fact that they're either pro-Palestine, mainly pro-Palestine, and a few pro-Israel, and these kids could become a cadre of kids for the solution, not the problem, that would be extraordinary. So that's one of the things that we're working on. But the other thing is that they are creating for us a module for universities and campuses, because we can't possibly talk to thousands and thousands of campuses and people, and you have no idea. When Shiri comes back at some point, she'll tell you how many organizations from all over America are turning to us because they have no hope. And we can't possibly do all of these meetings, nor can, even if we've got a team of Palestinians and Israelis, it's not possible. So we are creating this module, and Randy Weingarten from the Teachers Union is helping us to spread this whole message so that we won't have to market this idea. And I think that's amazing, because that's something practical that we can do to make change. I don't know what you can do. I think what you can do is, what I've noticed now, is that everybody is a major expert on the Middle East. Have you noticed that? Everybody knows everything. They're all telling us what we should be doing, and everybody's full of advice. And instead of advice, I think something compassionate could happen. If you would listen and you would tell the story that you'll hear soon from Muhammad, the story of me, or of a hostage, or of Vivian Silva, or perhaps her son, or of Zinon, that would be compassionate. And that's a way to make learning, and that's a way to make a breakthrough to somebody who doesn't want to listen to your brilliant political opinion. Thank you.
Yeah, you don't even have this.
Okay, thank you, Robbie. It's a pleasure to be here in this. It's a pleasure to be here in this place, and it's an honor to hear Robbie Damlin speaking for maybe this is the 10th or 15th time in US. Whenever she speaks, I just respect what she is doing, because I am 35 years old, and I can, I think that I have more resilience that waking up in the next day and doing the same thing. And Robbie Damlin is doing this for years, and it takes a lot of courage and takes a lot of strength. So I want to thank Robbie again for her speak. So, my name is Muhammad. I live in Jenin, West Bank. I lost my brother in 2002 when he was 16, I was 14. Through my whole life, I witnessing the occupation and the army. When I was 3 months, a tear gas grenade thrown from an Israeli soldier in the first Intifada to my house. I was born 1988. As we are a small family, 5 brothers and 4 sisters, and this is a small Arab family, so my mother saved what she can to save, and I was, baby 3 months. And when she came to take me, she didn't find me. But after hours of searching, I was in intensive care unit in a hospital, and they were taking the tear gas out of my lung. This is what my mother told me when I grew up. After that, I've been witnessing the soldiers in their military jeeps and their tanks in the checkpoint. And I never went to Israel to meet Israelis because I was too young. And the second Intifada uprising came in 2000. And in 2002, there was tanks and encouraging. And the incident that I lost my brother was by a tank bullet, and they prevented everyone from helping him. And yes, this is one of the reasons that I studied nursing and become an intensive care unit nurse. In the second day, after they killed my brother, they entered our house. They took the whole house, and they kept us in one room. And they took the house for the whole day. 4 years later, I entered the university in Nablus. I started to study nursing. I also got through checkpoints in daily basis. I also worked in Ramallah, also checkpoints, also militants, also soldiers. So I never met an Israeli in real life. In 2016, when I was back home from my work, I entered my family house and I saw Robbie Damlin in my house and another Israeli woman. I said hi to them and entered my room. After they left, I told my mother, why is there Israeli woman in our house? She told me they are bereaved families. At one Israeli, and this is a dialogue meeting that the Bereaved Circle did. And one Palestinian woman and one Israeli woman talked about their loss. And we asked the questions and we heard the answer. And it was a dialogue. And we cried together. So in sarcastic way, I told her, is that kind of group therapy that you talk about your loss and you cry together? So she told me, no, they are the Bereaved Circle and they are doing a lot of other programs, like the parallel narrative, which is bringing Palestinians and Israelis together to talk about their narrative and to discuss it through 2 months in a well-organized program. And she told me, you should go. And I told her, yes, I will go. This kind of sarcastic way to respond to my mother that she forced me to do things. So I said this yes and went out to meet friends. 1 week later, I got a call from the Bereaved Circle that tomorrow you have a meeting in Beit Jala with Israelis. I was angry. I called my mother. I told her, why you did that? She told me, you said yes. So I said yes. And during this week, I was looking about what they are doing, the Bereaved Circle, and the programs, the photos. And I was curious because I never met in Israel. My father worked for 20 years in Haifa, and he met Israelis. But after my brother killed, they banned him from entering Israel. They will not give permissions to any members of bereaved families. Like, I lost my brother and no one from the family can have permission to enter Israel because they will be afraid that we will take revenge. No, this is like collective punishment for I don't know what. So 10% of curiosity and 90% forced from mother, I decided to go. Because in the next morning I put my phone on silent to not to go. And at 6 a.m. my mother waking me up, the taxi is waiting for you. So I went to Beit Jala, 3 hours drive. And in the beginning is to start with introduction. Each one introduce himself. And one of the Israelis said, my name is this and this. And I served in the West Bank, 2002 to 2005. I was very angry. I felt rage. I was shivering. I was It was not fear, it was I was sweating. I couldn't bear to stay in the same room with this guy. I left the circle and went to the restroom. I washed my face. And the Palestinian facilitator came to me and told me, why you left the circle? I told him, I can't bear to be in this room with this guy. I can't be in the same room with the soldier that served in West Bank. He told me, you know that all of them are soldiers. I told him, yes, I know, but I didn't believe that I will feel like this. I can't stay. So he told me, please stay, just wait for the taxi. I will call the taxi. I can't force you to stay. But wait for the taxi, but join our next activity, and then the taxi will come, then you leave. I went back to the circle. In the next activity, in this will organize the program, people talk more about themselves, what they are doing, and what they're doing in their personal life, and what they're doing for peace and reconciliation. And this guy told us that he saw a lot of bad things in the occupied territories that he was against, and he is willing for peace, and he is against the occupation. And this was my breakthrough, that the first time I saw the human side of the others. This was my breakthrough, that I know that there is humans in the other side that are willing to peace. Since then, I've been active in the forum. I've been in the Young Ambassador for Peace program, which is for youth, and I also facilitating and running the summer camp, managing the summer camp for the last 6 years. I'm working with kids and youth. One of the things that bring me hope, and not in this last 4 months only after October 7th, but also before that. In the last 3 years, it was very difficult to live in Jenin, my city. House demolished, streets, and every corner it has a bullet or a trace of what is happening now. And I hope that everything will end, and I will continue my work also, because it's essential to do that. It's the hardest thing to do, and I saw this, and I saw what is Ruby going on, and how it's difficult to swim against the tide. So thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Mohammed and Robbie. We're going to open up for questions. I'm just going to say we're opening up for questions, not statements. And so if you have a question that you'd like to ask, we'd like to be able to have them answer. Yes, please say your name also.
My name is Eitan. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate it.
Speak up a
Oh, sorry. Yes. Mohammed, can you tell us a little bit more about the summer camp and what is done during the summer camp?
Okay. The summer camp is a program for 25 Palestinian kids and 25 Palestinian, Palestinian Israelis, 25. And it's a week in the summer that we talk, we do dialogue, we talk about narrative, and we also have fun together, because when you saw the human side in the others, and as Ruby said, and she will talk to you about her grandson, that elevating the fear is one of the most essential. And this year it was impossible to do the summer camp in Israel, in Ben Shemen village, but it was a big fight from both the Palestinian office and the Israeli office. And Robbie Damlin went through a big conflict to make the summer camp happening. And we did the summer camp. It was a very successful summer camp this year in Ben Shemen, despite the government and the Knesset was against it. I think Ruby can say something about this.
No, I can't. Firstly, it's not only the summer camp. If you'd actually spoken to us before October 7, we were number one on the Israeli government list to ban. For instance, they banned us from going into schools because we are terribly dangerous. You know, this terrorist and this person, Bogdanit, I don't know what that is, traitor, you know, going into a classroom of 17-year-olds and for the first time in their life, they meet a Palestinian. I'm talking about Israeli kids. And for the first time in their life, they see the human side of the story. In any event, we will not allow the Israeli government under any circumstances to stop us from working. So we do more dialogue meetings than we've ever done. Many of the headmasters in schools are inviting us again and again because they know the value of the work. So then came the summer camp, and they actually had a debate in Parliament. Can you believe this? Whether 14-year-old kids could, 14 to 17-year-old kids could have a summer camp in a boarding school, which was empty, because the 14-year-old kids who were Palestinian just might learn the code to the door of some, yes, these are actual people making these statements. So thanks to the American embassy and the German embassy who intervened, we got the summer camp at the very last moment. But what Mohammed, I think, wanted me to say is about my grandson. All my grandkids have been to the summer camp and to their facilitators without me pushing them. Ha ha. So, but Tomer, the youngest one, came to the ceremony. We have a joint ceremony every year on Memorial Day, which is quite incredible. Again, the government for the past 3 years have tried to stop the Palestinians from coming. Again, we go to the High Court, and we've won for 3 years running, which is quite a joyous feeling, I might tell you, to beat the government. The Supreme Court somehow recognized that it was absurd not to let people who have been peace workers for years. I wish your government would also realize that and give visas to Palestinians who have been working for years and years and years for peace, and doesn't let them come here and do the sort of work that Muhammad and I are doing. So Tomer came to the ceremony and then said, yes, I want to go to the summer camp. And he's a pretty spoiled little kid. You know, he's been with me to London, schlepped him to Harry Potter, the Tower of London, Madame Tussauds, all these ghastly things. Just, you know, because it's your first time in London, you have to do that. And I wondered what his reaction would be from the summer camp. And at the end of the week, he said to me, you know what, this is the best week I've ever spent. So I said, why? So he said, I just was And I thought and thought about why. And I realized that it's alleviating the fear of the other. It was the first time that he had an opportunity to actually play with Palestinian kids and have fun and listen to their life and understand what their daily life is all about. So that's kind of the essence of all the work we're doing. I'm going to sit down now because I can go until tomorrow morning. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, I'm Nancy Kaufman. Wonderful to see you both. I'm very curious what's happened since, how Parent Circle work has or has not changed since October 7th, both in terms of Palestinians and Israelis.
What does that talk about? One should read an article. You could have said that. Why must I say that? There was an article in the New York Times, I don't know if you read it, about the youth camps and everything that's happening. That's one indication. So what has happened, in fact, is because there's the closure, we can only meet on Zoom, which is never the same, you know, and the kids who went to the summer camp, actually on the 21st of September, they all signed a charter, which is International Peace Day. They signed a charter for nonviolence and reconciliation at the UN headquarters in Jerusalem. But 3 weeks later, there was a war. And kids from 14 to 17 don't see nuances. It's black and white. And they put all kinds of notices on social media, and there was anger, just like adults, by the way. But in this case, very clear, we don't want to see each other anymore. And so Mohammed and his partner, Tamar, the Israeli equivalent, have been working with them on a uninational basis now since the war. It's incredible to see what happened. Just before we came, they said, right, we're ready now to meet again. So it's been very difficult. It's very difficult for the staff. It's as I try to tell you, when you watch the media from both sides, I mean, that's like a parallel universe. So it's a testing all the time, and a lot of the work that we're doing is going to be tikkun, is going to be even with all our alumni. You know, our work is not only for bereaved people. The main reason for this organization is to make change. But we have close to 2,000 alumni from a parallel narrative program that we do, and we will have to work with them as well. Slowly, slowly, there's so much anger. Everybody wants an immediate solution. But you have to give people time. They need to grieve. They need to be angry. Slowly, slowly. And I'm watching it in the Parent Circle, and I was so happy with the women that came, the Palestinian women, because that's an indication that we're going on with the work. We're planning a lot of things to do. The summer camp is in planning at the moment. You know, we will go on with the parallel narrative programs. We will, if they don't let us into schools, we'll go to the Supreme Court and we'll win because they don't have a case. But it's hard work, but also the work that we're going to do with Georgetown makes me very happy, because I feel almost guilty with what is happening all over the world now to the Jews. I can't not say that. And please, we have to understand that we need to free the prisoners in order to bring back the hostages. And I can tell you that the man who killed David is in jail, and I couldn't care less if they let him out. Because if that will bring back one hostage, wouldn't that be worth everything? And if the Israeli government or the army are so powerful, then they should be able to control what happens with those prisoners who come out. They owe it to civilian citizens. That's hard for you to hear, maybe.
No, for myself, it's very good to hear.
Can you come
Yes,
to?
I'm Kathleen Paratis, and I wanted to ask Mohammed a question. I think that Palestinian citizens of Israel are also involved in Parent Circle. Is that correct? No? Okay. then I'd like you to explain that. And could you talk about other? Oh, okay.
I'm sorry about that. Let's just make it very clear. The people who belong to the parent circle are from Palestinians from the West Bank.
Okay.
Initially, they came also from Gaza. It's not that we don't want anybody from Palestinian Israeli citizens. On the contrary, they can be a bridge. But it's like people who were killed as a result of the conflict. And of course, there are Palestinian Israeli citizens too. And there are Bedouin now who gave up their lives at the music festival and who are taken hostage. And there are Bedouin who need assistance and need. I'll tell you one quick. No, I won't tell you that story another time. But
let me just add one thing onto it, and you can both respond in any way that you think is appropriate. There are organizations that involve Israeli Jews and Israeli Palestinian citizens of Israel, and I wonder whether you like combatants and standing together. I think maybe one or two others. Do you work with them? What's the overlap? What is the lack of overlap? How does that whole scene work? I know it's fraught. But could you tell us a little?
There are many organizations that were cross-border that have been disbanded. I'm sure that it'll happen. I told you, it's going to take time. Combatants for Peace are continuing to work. They are our partners in the ceremony that we do every year. It's difficult for them too. Don't make any mistake. This is like a real test. Standing Together is a wonderful organization, and it should be supported wherever you can, because this is what we need internally. And yes, I believe they came here and they were very successful, and I love them because they
Robbie,
really...
Just you want to say the difference, just so people understand that, or do you, that's the difference between, I'll just say, Standing Together, Omdim Yachad, is working within the Green Line in Israel.
Right.
It's Palestinian Israelis and Jewish Israelis working towards a movement within Israeli. Combatants for Peace works in the West Bank and with Jews in Israeli Jewish citizens. So they have a different landscape, but it's important that people understand those differences in order to stand the landscape.
We also have Druze members, and actually 2 weeks ago we had a screening at Cinematheque of a film, it's called One Day After Peace, and there was a brigadier general, a Druze, who lost his brother, was killed by a Palestinian, and he too said, free the prisoners. Israel has to take responsibility for citizens. So, we would work with anybody. There is an overbody called AllMep, who can have about 160 members, but they're not all with the same opinion, and they're not all cross-border. It's very rare. I think the parent circle and combatants are probably the only ones left in the meantime. That's not to say that nothing will happen in a while.
I will make a couple of statements, and I will ask you the question. No. So I'm also, when I was 14, my cousin was killed in Yom Kippur War. So I know exactly. No, but just a second.
Put the microphone like
just a
this.
Second. I'm sorry. So I'm also, I know exactly the feeling.
From the beginning, 'cause I didn't...
I'm sorry. My name is Avi Ashman. When I was 14, also my cousin was killed in the Yom Kippur War. So I know the feelings. The other question is, and I will make a couple statements and then I will ask the question. So we know that Jenin was one of the major center where Palestinian terrorists come during the Intifadas, and even today, it's still there. Another question is, we made statements that peace activists in Kfar Aza, in other places in the south, were killed because we were Jews. Itbach al Yahud, right? So, and we are actually here, we are Jews, and it does not mean just because we're Jews, we may be killed regardless to what our potential... The question that I have is...
Please, wait 1 minute. I need your question.
I will ask the question.
Can you tell me the question?
I will ask the question in a second. So the movement has been for a while. I would think 10 or more years, and it's not making a difference. Do you think it's naive?
What is the question in the last
question is, given that the movement has existed, Parent Circle has existed for a while, is it not, and things have not gotten better. So he asks if it's naive to think that things can get better. There are still terrorists, there are still people being killed, etc.
Yes. I think coming here to US, asking the people that I am going to US, the people in Jenin, that, I am now a walking terrorist here, I wrote an article about how afraid I am that when I'm driving back from Ramallah, that a soldier will shoot me, and I will be in the news in the next morning that the Israeli army killed a terrorist in West Bank. No one will know me. No Israeli will know what I am doing. I can assure you, because a 14 years old girl, my neighbor, got killed from a sniper with 3 bullets. And instantly, I was on Telegram and was in Facebook, in the website. They all said 14 years old terrorist girl killed. Terrorist and 14 years old in the same page, in the same sentence. And this is labeling people, because I can say what you said to all Israelis. They all want to kill us. They said Muhammad Khanzir to me, which is my prophet, and they said good Arab is dead Arab. We can do this all the day. This is what we are, what we see in the media, and this is what you see in the media also. But in the ground, the people living in Jenin, you know how it's difficult for me to be a peace activist in Jenin? Can I go to the street that is demolished? You know that now they're telling me my neighborhood, it have 3 streets to the neighborhood. They bulldoze it while I am here. They bulldoze it, all the street, and it's like 2 meters, all the soil is up now. And people kidding to me, telling me that, because whenever I want to travel, there is a joke that when you come back home, you will not know the place. And they said to me, you will not know the place. And there will be potato from the ground, that we will have money from it. So this kind of what I am living in, this is the thing that I'm living in. And it's not only after October 7th, it's 3 years, the last 3 years, people lost hope. You know that, and I think most of you will not believe this, but I am living in Jenin. Most of the time, people in Jenin, in West Bank, believed that there is a solution, and it will come from the Israeli government. I think you will not believe this, but people saying this, that the Israeli government will do this and this in the occupation, and we will live freely. And there is sometimes also Palestinians believed in the Palestinian Authority, but now, in the last 10 years, no one believes in the Palestinian Authority, and now, in the last 3 years, no one believes in the Israeli government. It's extreme. You can't say the statement that they are saying in the Knesset. Palestinians sees everything, and what hope it gives for Palestinians to continue settlements, they will get us to Jordan, all kind of this stuff. We are hearing it every day. So there is no hope. And now, after October 7th, Palestinians lost hope also in the American as mediators that will bring peace. So there is no hope in the ground in the West Bank. No one is looking in hope. And what gives me hope are the kids in the summer camp and the people that are willing to hear us. You people coming here gives me hope, because when I ask Palestinians, when I coming here to US for the first time ever, I told them, what do you want me to tell the American? Most of them said nothing. They will not change anything. This is the desperation. This is the loss of hope that Palestinian takes them. And I can tell you, there's people in Jenin fighting. There are kids, 17, 18 years old kids fighting. 16 years old kid in the hospital, paralyzed. Special forces entered and killed him while he was sleeping. This has happened this week while I'm here in US, and I work at Ministry of Health. I supervise this hospital. I know the people. And the thing that, and the most important thing, is that I am coming out of this conflict zone, out of this area of loss that in the last 2 years, I lost 10 Facebook friends. I have a new account in Facebook. I can tag now 10 dead people killed by Israeli forces. One of them is the accountant that he was inside the bank. They entered 10 a.m. and they start to shoot, and he got killed inside the bank. And that's happened while I was in Milano last October, 2 Octobers before, not this October, yeah, the October before. And this is the place I'm living in. And I can't go to the headquarters or the central of Jenin and raise a flag and talk about peace, because they demolished it also. This week they demolished the center of Jenin. So I can't talk about peace. No one can talk about peace unless the war ends, unless the violence ends. So it's a process. I know it's a lot of work from us. Yes, I know there is not a big breakthrough for people, but this is what we can do. This is at least what we can do. We can spread the voice that there is human beings in both sides. And as all movements around the world, it starts with a small crack in the wall, and I hope we can do it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I want to say, just emphasize what Robbie said and what Mohammed said, that it's really for us to support any effort, any organization like Parent Circle, like Omdim B'Yachad, like Combatants for Peace, particularly now when there's such despair and brokenness and anger. The fact that people are traveling to the US as a Palestinian and Israeli Jew, and saying, even in the despair, we're going to stick together. Even when people can't meet because they're not allowed to cross the border, we're going to stick together. And we need to hold that up. It's not an easy thing to do. This is not theoretical for Robbie. It's not theoretical for Mohammed. This is their life. Their son's life, their brother's life, and a choice that they make to try to find another path. And so we're going at BJ, we will continue. We were just in Israel with a trip. We met with Omdim B'Yachad. We went to a command center that's a shared command center in Rahat, which is the biggest Bedouin city of a joint Israeli and Bedouin command center to distribute supplies in response to the war. Anything that we can do to lift up the voices that are saying there's another way. Because if there's not, this will be the way it is forever. And it's not a good way. It's not a good way. And so I want to thank Robbie and Mohammed for being here, for your work, for your commitment. And we promise as a community to keep lifting you up and sharing your voices. And I'm going to invite Shiri to come back just to share a little bit of ways, if you're interested in getting involved with Parent Circle, that you can do so.
Thank you, Rabbi. For the first time, we've run out of materials. That's how many people are coming to see us. So that's a blessing and a curse. So if you're like living together and you have extras, please hand it out to somebody who didn't get one. And there you'll find information about how to get in touch with us, how to join, sign up for our newsletter, how to support the organization, how to connect with me. We have a responsibility now that we've heard these stories. We have a responsibility to pass them forward and to share them with others. Help us by organizing another event in your community, wherever that may be. Whether it's in another synagogue or it's in a school, a university you're connected to, a book club, wherever it may be, we have to now have this ripple effect. And thank you for being here with us today. Thank you to Robbie and Mohammed.
Shabbat Shalom to everyone. Thank you so much.